Students, now I'm going to tell you where to stop the Newton's method. बेटा यहाँ पे एक बड़ा ही एक इम्पॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन हमारे पास राइज होता है कि जी हमें कहाँ पर स्टॉप करना है. जिस तरह just like in Newton's method or sorry in bisection method we had the idea that okay we can simply calculate the number of iterations in the beginning in advance. So, but in the case of Newton's method, we cannot do that. So that's why I have written here that in the bisection method, we were able to compute ahead of time the number of iterations needed to achieve a given desired accuracy. But unfortunately, in this case, we will not be able to do this for Newton's method. तो लिहाजा बेटा ये देखा जाए तो कहने को तो ये एक ड्रॉबैक समझा जा सकता है, लेकिन दिस इज नॉट एन इम्पॉर्टेंट इशू. द रीजन इज कि बेटा अगर आपके पास जो टॉलरेंस है इस केस में हमारा जो टॉलरेंस है बेटा बाइसेक्शन के मुकाबले में इस केस में टॉलरेंस जो है वो हम किस तरह फिर अब हमारे पास वी डोंट हैव द एग्जैक्ट वैल्यू ऑफ द रूट. तो लिहाजा हमें शुरू में पता ही नहीं है कि वो किसके साथ एरर निकालेंगे. बाइसेक्शन में तो हमने फिर वो फार्मूला ड्राइव कर लिया था, बट इन दिस केस वी डोंट हैव सच टाइप ऑफ फार्मूला टू फाइंड आउट द वैल्यू ऑफ n in advance. So what you can do is you do some iterations, and now you have a tolerance means a very small value of the error, and now how you will stop and how to stop Newton's method. So in this case what you do is you simply take the absolute value of the previous iteration and the new iteration. Like for example, if you had x naught and now you calculate x1, and if the difference between x1 and x naught, you take the absolute value means the positive value. So if you have this difference less than or equal to epsilon, then you simply stop. And if your error is greater than or bigger than the tolerance, then you should find out the next iteration and you should find out the next value. तो बेटा हम क्या करते हैं न्यूटन मेथड में स्टॉप करने का क्या क्राइटेरिया है. अगर हमारे पास टॉलरेंस की वैल्यू कोई भी गिवन है, जैसे कि टॉलरेंस हो सकता है 10 raised to the power -3 -4 -6 -7 0.00001, maybe 10 raised to the power -4 -5, any value वट एवर द टॉलरेंस इज गिवन. तो बेटा आप करेंगे क्या, आपके पास जो एक शुरू में जो अप्रोक्सीमेशन है, जो वैल्यू है, जो अप्रोक्सीमेट रूट आपने निकाला है और उससे अगली वैल्यू का जो अप्रोक्सीमेट रूट है, इन दोनों के दरमियान में बेटा आप डिफरेंस देखें. डिफरेंस को आपने पॉजिटिव डिफरेंस ही देखना है, इससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा कि वो नेगेटिव है या पॉजिटिव है, जस्ट पॉजिटिव वैल्यू ही कंसिडर करें. वो वैल्यू आपके पास जो पॉजिटिव वैल्यू है वो आपके पास अगर तो एरर से बड़ी है, वो जो टॉलरेंस है एरर से टॉलरेंस से बड़ी है, इसका मतलब है आप एक और आइटरेशन करें. एंड इफ दिस डिफरेंस इज लेस देन और इक्वल टू एप्सिलॉन, द टॉलरेंस के बराबर है या इक्वल है, तो बेटा उस केस में फिर हम क्या करेंगे, हमारे पास जो है उस केस में हमने वहीं पे स्टॉप कर जाना है और वो जो xn+1 की जो वैल्यू होगी दैट वुड बी योर रूट इन दैट केस. सो लेट्स डू एन एग्जांपल नाउ. This is quite interesting example, students, and this is not from that book, and I have written here the website from which I have taken this example, but I have just little bit changed the question and then I solved it by myself so that we can have some extra iterations. थोड़ा सा मैंने question को बेटा change किया, exactly वही नहीं है, लेकिन ये जो क्वेश्चन की जो स्टेटमेंट है वो सारी एक जैसी, लेकिन क्या फाइंड करना है दैट वाज अ लिटिल बिट डिफरेंट. सो व्हाट इट सेज दैट यू आर वर्किंग फॉर डाउन द टॉयलेट कंपनी. बेटा जो जो लोग कमोड वगैरह इस तरह के नीचे जो बनाते हैं, ये इनके हवाले से बात हो रही है. दैट मेक्स फ्लोट्स फॉर एबीसी कमोड्स. द फ्लोटिंग बॉल हैज अ स्पेसिफिक ग्रेविटी ऑफ 0.6 and has a radius of 5.5 centimeters. You are asked to find the depth to which the ball is submerged when floating in water. So what it says that in a company, there is a company and they are working for the basically the name of the company is Down the Toilet. And and they what they do, they make the floats for the commodes. And the information which is given here is that the specific gravity of the floating ball is 0.6 and the radius is 5.5. So now the question is, it says find the value of that depth, that variable, maybe in this case, if we are considering the depth to be x, then we need to find out the value of the x such that this ball is submerged when floating in the water. So this is here in this figure. So you can see this is your x here. And this is like submerged in the water when it is floating. So definitely it is not at the just on the surface of the water. So since it has some sort of weight, so that's why it is a little bit down here. And students, uh, and maybe the prop, or you can simply say the property of the ball is just like this, that it has some height in the water as well. So this is your x. So it means you need to find out the value of this x. And the equation that gives the depth x in meters to which the ball is submerged underwater is given by this function. So students, actually your goal is not to find out this function. Sometimes you are asked to find out this function. Basically, that is the topic of the modeling. But since our goal is to find out the solution of this equation, और ये क्वेश्चन चूंकि थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड है, लिहाजा हम इसकी इक्वेशन फाइंड आउट नहीं करने जा रहे, बल्कि इक्वेशन इज गिवन एंड यू आर गोइंग टू फाइंड आउट द रूट ऑफ द इक्वेशन. And then what it says that use the Newton's method to find the depth x to which the ball is submerged underwater, where tolerance is 0.001. Sometimes in the book it is written to be 1 e power minus 3 or e power minus 4 minus 5, whatever it is. And or sometimes it is written to be 10 raised to the power minus 3. So all these have the similar meaning. Either it is written like this or this or this. So students, you should not be confused with the notation. So all these notations are basically used in different books. So students, let's start the solution of this example now. So first of all, students, this is important here. Since you had initially you had considered a function, right? So where I had discussed the method. So here from this equation, you need to find out the function. So what is the function? So f of x is equal to 0. So it means this portion is your f of x. This equation is your left hand side is your f of x, and f of x is equal to 0. It means you need to find out the value of that x such that this function is equal to 0. So students, now f of x is equal to x cube minus 0.165 x square plus 3.993 into 10 raised to the power minus 4. So first of all, we need to find out the derivative. So students, the derivative is f prime of x is equal to 3x square minus 0.33x. Students, if you simply multiply this one, so take the derivative, and then this becomes as minus 0.33x. Now we start the Newton's method. So first of all, we need to take the initial guess. So let's assume the initial guess to be x naught is equal to 0. So students, if you take the initial guess to be this one, f of x naught is equal to f of 0 is equal to this one, where f prime of 0 is equal to 0. So students, in this case, the derivative becomes 0 and the derivative comes in the denominator. So the whole thing will be destroyed. It will be undefined situation. So it is very important that you should change the value of x naught. So this is not a suitable choice. So you should change the value of x naught. So students, this is important that you take a better choice for the x naught. And you can, it is very easy to understand this thing, how you can better decide that this is not a good choice um, for this method. Students, if you simply find out the derivative, and if, for example, you are taking any value, if it is giving you 0, then stop, take another value. Okay, so in this way you can better choose a new initial guess. So now we choose another guess and we assume x naught to be 0.1. You can take any other value, maybe 1, maybe 0.5, maybe 0.01, maybe 0.02, maybe 0.05. So you can choose any guess. So in the book or in the question from which, and from the book from which that question has been taken, so they took, I think, 0.05. And I know this is quite difficult to choose this function. So I just chose the different value. So you can choose any value here. So students, uh, you have now chosen x naught to be equal to zero point 0.1. And now f of 0.1, the function value is 0.1 cube minus 0.165 into 0.1 square plus 3.993 into 10 raised to the power minus 4. And that is equal to minus 2.507 e raised to the power minus 4. And f prime of 0.1 is equal to minus 0.003. So students, now you have these two values. You have the value of x naught. Now use the formula to find out the first value. So students, what is the first approximation? So x1 is equal to x naught and minus f of x naught over f prime of x naught. So this is your formula. So student, now just substitute the values here is equal to 0.1 minus substitute this value divided by this value, and your answer is 0.0164. Now students, you just choose the error x1 minus x naught. So this absolute value is equal to, students, if you just the first value was 0.1, initial value was 0.1, and the next value x1 was 0.0164. So the answer is 0.0836, and this is greater than the value of tolerance. Since this is greater than tolerance, so you must choose another, you must find out the next value. So let's now, students, since we have this x1, so now find out f of x1 to be this one, and now f prime of x1 is equal to this one, and now x2 is equal to x1 minus f of x1 over f prime of x1. So students, if you substitute all these values here, so you get x2 is equal to 0.0944. So students, x2 minus x1. अब बेटा आप एरर निकाल रहे हैं बेसिकली, तो एरर आपके पास क्या बन रहा है कि आपके पास 0.0944 माइनस 0.0164, so 0.0780. Once again, this is greater than tolerance. तो बेटा अगेन आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, आपको फिर नेक्स्ट वैल्यू जो है वो फाइंड आउट करना पड़ेगी. So now f of x2 is equal to this one, f prime of x2 is equal to minus 0.0044, and x3 is equal to x2 minus f of x2 over f prime of x2, and x3 is equal to 0.0424. And now students, just check the error. X3 minus x2 is equal to 0.0424 minus 0.0944, and the answer is 0.0520. And once again, students, this is greater than the tolerance. So let's find out now the next value. Since x3 was this one, f of x3 is equal to 1.7889, 10 raised to the power minus 4. And f prime of x3 is equal to minus 0.0086. And x4 is equal to x3 minus f of x3 over f prime of x3 is equal to 0.0632. And students, now once again find out the error x4 minus x3, and that is equal to 0.0208. Student, once again, this is greater than the value of the tolerance. So find out the next value. So now f of x4 is equal to this one, f prime of x4 is equal to this one, and x5 is equal to 0.0624. And students, what was the previous value? X3, sorry, x4 was 0.0632, and now it is 0.0624. So students, if you simply find out the error, so you have 8.2423 into 10 raised to the power minus 4. So student, you can see that you have now the error which is less than the tolerance. So since this is the less than the tolerance, so you must, and what was the tolerance? 10 raised to the power minus 3. And here we have 10 raised to the power minus 4. So students, in this way, it means you have achieved the goal, and now your root is x5 is equal to 0.0624. Students, I can simply understand that you definitely need a good calculator. Uh, बेटा मैं आपको बताता चलूं, अगरचे आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू एडवर्टाइज एनी कैलकुलेटर, लेकिन let me tell you that if on your calculator on the left hand side at the top, if it is written CALC in the calculator, I don't know, I don't remember the number of that calculator, लेकिन बेटा अगर आपके कैलकुलेटर में ऊपर टॉप से मेरे ख्याल में शिफ्ट से शायद नीचे CALC का बटन हो, तो that would be much easy to use for you for these type of numerical calculations. आपको numerical method का जो सारा कोर्स है वो बड़े आसानी के साथ हैंडल हो जाएगा अगर आपके पास वो कैलकुलेटर हो. The reason behind is कि in that calculator बहुत सारे डिफरेंट जो मॉडल होंगे, कोई भी मॉडल पकड़ लें, लेकिन अगर उसमें CALC का बटन हो तो बेटा क्या होगा, उसमें फायदा क्या? व्हाट इज एडवांटेज ऑफ दैट? द एडवांटेज इज यू कैन सिंपली राइट एनी इक्वेशन विद एनी वेरिएबल. वहां पे अल्फा लिखा होता है, अल्फा दिस, तो आप कोई भी वेरिएबल चूज कर लें, फर्स्ट करें एक्स ही चूज कर लें, तो एक फार्मूला उसके अंदर स्टोर करें, एंड देन व्हाट यू डू इज you simply press the button calculate and it will ask you to put the value of x. अगर आप बेटा x की वैल्यू देंगे and then it will and press equal sign, it will give you the answer. And in the same way you can store 8 formulas. उसके अंदर 8 फार्मूले आपके पास आ जाएंगे. ऊपर एरो की प्रेस करेंगे या डाउन एरो या ऊपर अप एरो प्रेस करेंगे तो फार्मूले चेंज आपको नजर आते जाएंगे. तो जो फार्मूला आपको चाहिए उसको सामने स्क्रीन के ऊपर लाएं एंड प्रेस द कैलकुलेट बटन, वैल्यू दें और आपके पास आंसर जो है वो इस तरीके से निकल आएगा. लेकिन कोशिश मैं करूंगा कि आपके पास जो है ना वो एक मैं छोटी सी एक वीडियो क्लिप बना दूंगा ताकि जो है आपको आसानी रहे कि आप किस तरह कैलकुलेटर यूज कर सकते हैं. So inshallah, I will try to provide a video so that you can better understand how to use your calculator for these type of calculations. So students, so this was the end of the example and end of the method as well. So you need to do some exercise questions, and the exercise is page number 101, and you can do the questions, question number 1, question number 2, and these parts of question number 5. So students, you need to do this practice, and inshallah, once you do this practice, hopefully it would be much better to understand this method. So hopefully there will be no problem, inshallah, to solve these questions.